Hello, everyone. Welcome to our session from Traditional to Transformational with Laserfiche. Thank you for joining us. My name is Michael Lax. I'm the Financial Program Strategist here at Laserfiche, and it is my pleasure to introduce our speaker and this year's Run Smarter Award winner for the financial advisor space, Jim Anderson. Jim is the Chief Systems Officer for CLS Investments, a subsidiary of NorthStar Financial Services Group, with over $80 billion in assets under management, which is huge. Jim is responsible for seeking integration opportunities and innovation at CLS Investments. While overseeing these processes, these projects, Jim has implemented some very innovative processes at CLS, including those involving Laserfiche forms and integrations with web services. Today, he's going to share with you his experience in implementing Laserfiche and his business processes with workflow. At the end of his presentation, we're going to have questions. It's much better for the video if you ask them into the microphone, so raise your hand and I'll run it to you, and you can ask your questions that way. With that said, I'm going to turn it over to Jim. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Michael. Good morning. Thank you to everybody for coming this morning. I appreciate you attending this session. There's a ton of sessions here, and it was hard for me actually to decide whether I was going to attend my own or go to another one. So thank you for coming. So let's talk about a little bit about the audience for this presentation. CLS and NorthStar Financial is a financial services company, and I think the message that we have is going to be appropriate for all of those in that industry, as well as other industries, simply because all of us are here because we want to improve our operations. And I think that's an important message that we took and an important effort that we played in our organization. For those of you that maybe were FileNet users or FileNet users currently, and we moved off of the FileNet platform and into Laserfiche, and I think we've got some messages for you there as well. Also, for people who are looking for end-to-end processes that want to improve what you're doing, using web forms, as was mentioned, and workflows. And then for us, it was really important that I use the phrase, use the right tool for the right job. And Salesforce is a big part of our organization, and so it was important for us to have things that integrate to Salesforce and work together with that, and using the right tool for the right message. The objectives for this session also is just to tell you about our successes and what we felt were important, and how to improve our processes, our access, as well as the efficiency and productivity across the organization, not just in a single department or a couple of departments, but it was really looking at that efficiency across the organization. You hear it a lot at this conference, and it really is a big part of what you're going to do when you're implementing, and that is you're going to have to manage that change that people are going to go through every day. And then also, as I mentioned, the importance of integrations. So those are some of the things that I hope that you'll walk away with this morning after our conversation. The agenda is a little bit of background about NorthStar Financial, as well as what we went through as far as our implementation, some of the change management that we were working with, some specific solutions breakdowns. I was lucky enough to attend last year's conference, and I got a lot out of what are the specific stories, what are the specific things that organizations did that helped them achieve that. And I want to give you some of those specific stories that I think it helps illustrate what we did and what can work for you. Again, those integrations and a couple of case studies that I want to share with you specific to what happened with us, and then the results as well. So a little bit about NorthStar. We are located in Omaha, Nebraska. We have over 500 employees across the U.S. now. I get to say that. It's kind of fun to say that. We have 3 locations quite honestly, this is out of date. Since we've put the PowerPoint together, we've actually opened an office in Chicago as well as in Phoenix. And so we're expanding quite a bit, and it's really exciting to be part of a dynamic company like that. As was mentioned, we have over $80 billion in assets under administration and in assets under management. So we are expanding and growing quite quickly, and it's been a lot of fun. Just a little bit about the companies that represent NorthStar Financial. NorthStar itself has been around for 10 years, but most of the subsidiaries that I've listed here have been around for quite some time. CLS Investments, which I specifically work for, has been around for just over 20 years. And I've been with the organization 10, and it's been fun to watch the growth and watch the innovation that we've been able to achieve. CLS, the other reason for this slide is to give you an idea of some of the regulatory requirements that we have across the organization. I think it's important for those of us in the financial service or any organization, you always have regulations that you're going to have to abide by, and there's always rules that you have to, of the game. And so it's important for you to recognize that there's a lot of rules, and Laserfiche has really helped us maintain and achieve to those rules. CLS, we are a registered investment advisor, regulated by the SEC. Gemini Fund Services, a transfer agency, is also regulated by the SEC. Northern Lights Distributor, our broker-dealer, it's a FINRA regulation, as well as then Constellation Trust, an affiliated custodian, is regulated by the Nebraska banking regulations. So we have a lot of regulations and we have a lot of rules that we have to abide by, and I just think it's important for everybody to understand that we all have rules. There's somebody always writing the rules for us, so we have to make sure that we're taking care of those things. So what we had, we were playing with dynamite, I suppose, with an unsupported version of FileNet. We were not able to purchase anymore. We had for years been able to purchase support, and that ended as well. So we were risking a lot by not having an implementation. We also were stuck with a system that we could only retrieve information in FileNet based on the metadata specific to those documents. And so if somebody didn't put the metadata on there correctly, or if there was limited metadata, what we actually found was a lot of times people were using metadata fields and putting wrong information in there, so you were finding things that just didn't make sense. And so it was really difficult. We also had a centralized scanning team, and for us that was a huge risk. Or we felt it was a huge risk. They were making a lot of decisions about how to fill out forms, what data to collect. They were also making a lot of decisions about where things should be stored. They had little visibility to their processes to the rest of the organization, and it just really put us at risk when it came to looking for documents, looking for what we were doing. We also had a lot of unstructured documents that didn't have a file structure. So there was really difficult for us to validate, do we have everything where it's supposed to be? Do we have all the documents we're supposed to have? And so that was really a big risk for us as well. So with that, what we needed, we wanted to take and give the business units the responsibility and the ownership for storing and maintaining their documents. Move it back, what I call upstream, away from the scanning team, but put it back into those business units and let them really decide what it is that they want to capture. Where do they want to capture it? What's that folder structure look like that they want to have? We also wanted a workflow that we could manage these documents with. I think that it was one of those key things that getting the document to land on the table or in the person's hand that really needs it at the time that they need that document. The folder structure was important for us. Our legal team really likes a lot of folders. They like a lot of subfolders, like a lot of intricate folders. Some of the rest of us are much more open to, I'm picking on Ashley a little bit there, but some of the rest of us like a little less folder structure. So it was important for us to bring on a system that allowed us to do that. We also wanted to figure out and improve our search function. We wanted the metadata search, of course, we wanted that, but we wanted full text search, and that was the other reason for us for selecting the Laserfiche. We had 666,000 documents that are in an unstructured folder. And that was a huge risk for us to be able to find what we were looking for and make sure that we were looking for that. Once we brought on, we called it the black hole, and we still call it the black hole. It's there, but we're able to search into the black hole a little bit better now than what we had. Before I mentioned AIS, I do want to talk about when we were scoping out and doing a little background on what system do we want. We also looked at a lot of places. We looked at a lot of hosted solutions, and we just found lacking the end-to-end process that we wanted. We found hosted solutions that were really good at storing documents, but it was difficult to get the documents there. In a financial services company like ours, a lot of the things that come in are in paper form. And it was important for, it's hard to figure out how do you get that document electronic, where do you put it, at what point do you make it electronic, what point do you store it. And so it was important for us to have an end-to-end solution that way. And so that's why Laserfiche, that was another reason why Laserfiche fit us. It was also important for us then to find the right partner. I've had the privilege of managing a number of different types of projects in our organization. We're pretty linear. I have open access to go and knock on the door of whoever I need to knock on the door of and get the answers. We wanted a partner that we could do the same thing with. And I guess my recommendation to you, and make sure that you understand, is that when you're looking for partners, you need to find those people that fit your organization, fit your type of company. And that's really key for us, and AIS really fit that bill for us. We also needed to put a team together internally that could monitor and manage this process. So for us, the team members, I have to acknowledge these guys. Most of them are here with us this week. Kim and Stephanie and Adam and Kylie and Ashley. We've all spent a lot of time and a lot of energy and a lot of emotion. It was interesting, I was just in a session, they were talking about when you're working on a project like this, you have to get emotionally involved in it. And we've all put a lot of emotion into this. And so we have regular meetings amongst ourselves as well as with AIS. And it really helps you when you get that emotion, get that bond, and to get that team put together that can really lead this kind of a challenge. They represent the legal team, our IT team, and then the business units, and that's who we really were trying to build out Laserfiche for. We needed to develop our plan, and then in that plan, we were really key on what are our priorities, what are the first things we need to get done, what's second, and that type of thing. Your basic project planning structure is really what I think goes into play. So obviously, the plan needed to be, first off, is to get FileNet converted. And then to get, once the documents were all converted, then to get them OCR'd so that we could do all the full text searching that we needed to be able to do. And we had over, I don't know, I think 1.5 million documents that we needed to get converted over, and that took quite a while. AIS really led the charge and helped us figure out how to do that, and making sure that because of the unstructured nature, we didn't really know exactly what was in there, and so it was really important for us to do that in a very structured and very organized manner, and we got a lot of great help for that. Then also we wanted to take on the challenges that CLS was going to present, and that was the fact that we are the ones that are producing probably the bulk of the documents that are going into Laserfiche. Because of the account setups and the client documents that we had, we were really focusing in on that as being the heavy user. And part of that really was, quite honestly, the thing that's shown up, even as we went through this, that was our game plan. But really, at the end of the day, it was trying to train people on how to search on the tool. It was interesting that that was one of the key components of what we were doing, and it's training was really important for us. And going back and doing that 2 and 3 times with the same people in order to get them encouraged to do that. And that's been a real challenge as well as reward, because once you start seeing people understanding how to do that, it makes a big difference. We also wanted to take the legal team and use them as kind of our microcosm or our little beta test for workflows. The legal team is a shared services organization across all of the NorthStar companies. And so we figured if we tackled and could validate what was going on with legal and getting them set up, we would be able to replicate that knowledge and those processes across the rest of the team. And if legal can do it, anybody can do it. So we had... So I want to share a couple of screenshots of some of the things that we did, and gets into the specifics. What did we do? How did we do it? And so I want to share a couple of things. Here's the forms. This is the forms. We've purchased forms as well as forms portal. This is a simple form. So when I make a request for a legal document, I have contracts come in or those types of things, I actually just go to this. I use a Mac. We are technology agnostic in our organization, so we have people on Macs, we have people on PCs, and it was important for us to have a form that, if any of you have tried to open up and share a PDF on a Mac and fill it out and do anything with it, don't. It's pain. But this actually saved us a lot of time, and saves me a lot of time. And so all we have to do is we open up the link. We fill out the request form. You're seeing this. If you haven't attended a session on forms, it's an excellent part of the tool. What I particularly like is being able to drag and drop the document right in here. I don't have to actually browse. If the document's open, I can drag that document right onto the form and save that. Once that's submitted, it automatically creates a notification and is saved right to the legal team. Here's the simple workflow that we used, or business process, I guess, is what the Laserfiche term would be. This is the business process that we had for our legal forms. And so you can see that it's pretty simple, straightforward. The requester completes the form. We send it to, we make sure that we've got the company on there because there's different folks on the legal team that handle different companies' requests. We then submit the form. It goes to the legal team. They route it to the individual that needs to be managing that process. What really makes this process nice is that then there's always the back and forth that you have with a contract. We edit this. It needs to go back to the original submitter. They approve the edits, those types of things that we needed to do. And then upon completion, then we route a final copy back to them in a PDF form so that we know that we've got the right one, as well as it's saved into Laserfiche. The nice thing about our notifications that we really wanted to have in this process was also at the end, oftentimes in our past process, we would forget to make sure everybody who needed that agreement got a copy of the agreement. And so it was important for us to be able to CC the accounting team. Oftentimes they were left out in the dark and they didn't know anything about a new agreement until an invoice came in, and then they're scrambling around trying to figure out what's going on with this agreement and this new invoice. So here's our simple business process, but inside Laserfiche, all of a sudden, it starts looking a lot different, and the back and forth and how these things come together inside the tool itself. And we can talk about that, but it really works pretty slick, and we're very excited about this process. The nice thing also is that we aren't handling, it's not that our legal folks are in Laserfiche all the time. So we wanted to make sure that there were notifications that went to them that they had work to do. So this is the notification that goes to the legal team that says, hey, there's a document to be reviewed. Then once it's assigned, we pop off another email to that person that it's assigned to, and they get the notification that, hey, you've got specific work that you need to go take care of. And then what we do is, this is an example of what the document looks like, the email that goes out with the final agreed document. And this one is the one that we'll send out to, the accounting team, the business submitter, and the rest of the folks. So just an example, a list of some of the things that we're working on, or the tools inside Laserfiche that we're using. We have 100 full user licenses across the organization. We have forms, obviously, forms portal, the web link, Laserfiche mobile. We're just starting to roll that out, and again, the legal team is the one that's really leading the charge on the web, on the mobile, as well as obviously workflow. We added a Salesforce connector, and we'll talk about that in a minute. Quick Fields Agent. And again, I can't stress enough, use the right tool for the right job. For us, Laserfiche is a document management system. We use Salesforce as our CRM. We use DocuSign to electronically sign documents. So all of these tools work together for us, and that was our way of going at it. And I think it was important for us to be able to do it that way. An example of across the company, how we are showing up as far as who's using what. What's interesting, the NorthStar Financial Services Group, this is really the parent company, and that's where a lot of the legal workflows, people don't even realize, I think, sometimes that they're interacting with Laserfiche. And that's what's kind of fun about it, is that it's not a big thing. It's just, here's the process, you do it. And when you do the process the way it's designed, it works out really well. CLS, of course, we have CLS Client, the workflow, and the Quick Fields agent as well. Orion has been the leader for us as far as the Salesforce integration, and we continue to develop on that, as well as the DocuSign. So their agreements are coming in through DocuSign and getting attached right into Laserfiche. As well as NorthStar, the Northern Lights distributor, the Web-to-Link. This was something that actually wasn't even on our radar when we first started the project, but it actually worked out pretty well. You'll find, I guess we found, that the more things and the more tools, the more toys that people got, the more reasons and the more questions about, hey, can you do this with it? And what else can we do? And it's been a challenge to keep the project manageable, but there's always more ideas, and that's what's kind of nice about Laserfiche, is that we're able to continue to build on that and to continue to innovate. So I mentioned the broker-dealer and their web process. Our broker-dealer also is the broker-dealer for about 200 mutual funds. Those mutual funds, the advisors on those mutual funds need to submit to the broker-dealer any marketing materials that they want to use. The broker-dealer is then challenged and tasked with reviewing those, compliancing those, and approving those. All of that's happening on their website. What makes it's just crazy. So we had the website actually was sending an email to the scanning team with the attached documents. The scanning team were taking those documents, saving them to Laserfiche, and then sending another email to the compliance folks, letting them know that the documents were ready for them to review. And with some simple work as far as a web development using the SDK kit, we were able to then build out a workflow right from the website right into Laserfiche and completely eliminating that team right in the middle there. That could be a risk, that could be a hang-up, and streamline that process quite a bit for ourselves. And so we eliminated a lot of unnecessary steps, a lot of unnecessary things. And this is their actual screenshot of their web page. And all they do is they have two things that they need to indicate, is that the document's been completed, and then they save to Laserfiche. And with that, the document is immediately saved into Laserfiche, into the folder structure that we've designed for those documents, with the naming convention that the compliance folks wanted on those documents. They can immediately then go into Laserfiche, review the documents, make sure that the metadata is saved the way they want to have it saved. And we are able to eliminate a lot of steps, and it works really slick. It was interesting, I actually had one of the folks from the broker-dealer stop me the other day on the way out of the building. And she goes, you know, I was a little skeptical about this Laserfiche thing. And I'm like, oh, great, here we go. And you're always afraid when somebody goes, okay, what are you going to tell me about Laserfiche that broke today? And she was so enamored with, my processes are so much easier right now than what I'd ever done. She goes, it was amazing how quickly that time turned around, and the transformation really from that team came about. And so it was kind of fun. It was a nice way to leave for the day, actually. Instead of going, oh my God. Some other things that we've done with our system and with our processes. So last year at Laserfiche, at the conference here, where I saw the Salesforce connector and that we're using with Cambridge. And I was like, wow, we're a huge Salesforce user. This is going to be something that I want to keep on my radar. It's really going to be important for us as we continue to build out. I didn't think it was going to happen in the first year. But what was interesting was the president of Orion and I were having a conversation. He wanted to see, at Orion, they wanted to see all their advisor documents into one space. But he wanted to see those inside Salesforce. They use everything that they do is in Salesforce. And they didn't want to have to go to another system. What we had was invoices were in an accounting system. Reports were sometimes saved to Salesforce. Most of the time they were saved to a file server. We had just documents everywhere, and nobody had access to all of the documents when they needed to have them. And so what we did is we put the connector together, and right inside Salesforce, they see the web link of Laserfiche. And that went live several months ago, and we continue to build on this, and it's been very exciting. The Orion folks have been actually one of the champions of that process. But here's what that looks like. Here's the CLS. This is actually a screenshot right from the Salesforce application that we have at Orion. And you can see that it's just a web window to Laserfiche. What's nice about it is if you're not seeing the documents or you think you're missing something, you can still, because it's the web right into Laserfiche, you can go in and continue your search right inside Salesforce. And so that was the kind of innovation that was streamlined their processes quite a bit for them, because it was an opportunity for us to get all the documents in one place that everybody was going to need, and it made it a lot easier for those folks. I talked about change management early on. Change is hard for some people. When we talked about it, I tried to avoid the easy button because I'm really not. I've heard some people say that, well, Laserfiche is easier. You know what? Laserfiche is going to be different. What I focused on and what we as a team focused on is that what we're trying to do is make the replication of what you do easier, add clarity to your processes, and make what you're doing more visible to everyone else in the organization. And I think that those are the things that, for us, really helped us deliver the message clearly to our users and to the folks in the departments. Because we all know there's no such thing as an easy button. That's why it's a catchy idea, but there's no easy button. We all have our jobs to do. We all have things that we have to get done. And I thought that those are the three words that we talk about a lot of times when we're talking about a process. We also comfort people and say things will be different. It will be okay. It's hard. One of the things I've learned over in doing a lot of projects with folks is that in their current process, part of the reason people don't want to change is in their current processes, they know where the gotchas are. They know where the holes are. They know what doesn't work in the current process. If you change their process, what doesn't work now? Where's the hole now? And those are the things that, as project managers and as leaders in these projects, is really important for you to take advantage of and help them understand that when you document those processes and we put those things together, where are the gotchas, and try to help fill in those gotchas. We also found that it was really important for us to get manager buy-in. Those teams that really sought to change what they were doing, those teams that really saw an opportunity for them to improve their processes, it was really important for us to take advantage of that. And those managers, we've succeeded, and that's why, partly because the legal team really wanted to change what they were doing. The legal team really wanted to be different about how they were taking care of the requests and the requirements that they had, and they really wanted to take advantage of that. So that's something that you really need to kind of watch for in your organizations as well. The other thing that we were looking for was efficiency across the organization. Oftentimes when somebody's doing something, it's easy for them to put a stamp on it and send it on to the next person. But if their stamp only complicates what the next person's doing, it doesn't help. So it was really important for us to make sure that we were putting efficiencies across the organization. And sometimes it's hard for people to understand that just because you're getting rid of that piece of paper doesn't mean that it's easier for somebody else to take care of down the road. We also were focusing on handle it when it was appropriate for you to handle it. And that was another piece of the workflows that we were trying to build out and make sure that we're taking care of. And then the 80-20 rule. We've talked about the 80-20 rule. Everybody knows that, 80% of the things, it's just, but it's a little different when I look at this process. And the 80% of what we do is really replicate. We can replicate that pretty quickly. And what I wanted to try to do is streamline as many of those processes so that those exceptions have more time to be dealt with as an exception. One of the areas that we really focused on and found that to be true was in our organization, we do a lot with qualified plans. We get enrollments, and we have a plan enrollment. Participants then are coming in as companies hire. They add employees, those types of things. So we get a lot of one-off processes. This is in our organization, is a very tedious project. We literally are getting electronic copies of client participant paperwork. We're printing those copies. People are then manually entering the information into the system and then signing the document. It drives me crazy. And so what is really nice is to be able to sit down with these folks and say, okay, what is your process and what should your process be? And you can see here with our workflow, we designed what we were doing was gathering all that information up front, not printing the documents. We actually added in electronic signatures as well so that the documents can be approved and right inside our organization. And with that, we're exporting the data out into those systems so that the processor is only doing it once. They're filling in the information once. We're capturing that information, saving it to the other sites that we need to save that information to, and it works out really well for us. It took a lot to get to this stage with this organization, because when we were meeting with them, when we were talking with them, they always wanted to talk about the exceptions, those people that didn't fit the bill, that didn't make things work. And part of the solution for us really is that those exceptions, a lot of times those exceptions occur when you are gathering the data. Maybe the social security number is not right. Maybe there's a piece of information that's missing. And so trying to build your process in and take advantage of what are those exceptions, what are those things that throw things out of line, and get those handled earlier in the process. And that's what worked for us here. Several of the things that we experienced and grew to learn, and I guess I'm trying to give you some advice on your process and what you do, is really get those employees involved early and often throughout as you're going through these changes. For us, where we were successful getting these employees on board, getting them into a room where we can whiteboard what they're doing and then look for those pain points and try to fix those pain points in a quick way. Look for those quick hits. It really helped us gain credibility as well as be able to show success with what we were doing. My team gives me a bad time. There's hardly a meeting I go into that I don't stand in front of a whiteboard and start writing things up there. But I think it really helps when you can do that, because when you start putting on a board what is the process, and people start realizing that because they're sending this document to the scanning team 3 different times, they suddenly realize that they're not being very efficient with their own time as well as someone else's time. And so it was really interesting. Oftentimes we've had that experience with our folks. When you show them those pain points, it really starts to become really obvious. What are the things that they're doing, and how can we improve that? We've gotten our conversion done. We had, like I said, over 1.5 million documents that we got completed. All of those documents have been OCR'd. That took quite a while for us to run those documents through, but it was really important for us to be able to do that and get that done. Our training, I say training is completed, but really our training is ongoing. It seems like every day there's another question about how do we do, or how can I find? And we're constantly looking for ways to help people be able to search and be able to use the tool much better. Streamlining the processes. Stephanie, the business process manager, and I have been meeting with our accounting team. This is This is typical accounting, but that's all right. You know, you just go through and they're used to their process. They're used to the way that they're doing it. Oftentimes, at the end of the process, they were emailing the document to us that needed to be saved to Laserfiche. They have access to Laserfiche. They can go look up all the documents. They can save the documents to Laserfiche, but they were still sitting in the email. We were in this meeting, and all of a sudden, one of the accountants was going, oh, wait, I could just save it to Laserfiche and not have to send you an email. And we're like, thank you. It was really important for that. We also gained efficiencies across if you concentrate on that, we're really looking to do that. And it's across the organization. It's not just one department. It's not just one place for us. That was really important. We started out with 25 licenses when we had our first, when we were here in January. We were talking about 25. And we wanted to start small. We wanted to start in a manageable way. After we left the conference last year, it was really obvious that 25 licenses weren't going to cut it. And so we doubled that into to 50 licenses before, I don't know, probably April, I think it was. That was about that time. We doubled to 100 then again a few months later because we blew through those 50 because of the people that wanted to get access to and needed access to Laserfiche. And we're really excited. I'm very proud of being recognized with a Run Smarter award this year. Actually going through this exercise of preparing for this presentation, it's been interesting because it's like, hey, you know what? We have gotten some things done. We talk here, and I've had this conversation a number of times. Most of the time, our conversations are about what we need to get done, what's not working, or what needs to be fixed, or whatever. And quite honestly, we've gotten a lot done, and we're pleased with that. A case study that I shared a while back with Zahir, and he thought, wow, you need to talk about that at the conference. And that's specific to our accounting team, again, does a lot of account review right at the end of the process, and they couldn't find a fee schedule. For a financial company not to have the authorized fee schedule for an account is a pretty serious issue. You better have the fee schedule so you know what you're invoicing somebody for, and you better have that document. We couldn't find it. They couldn't find it. They set off a small panic with the new business team. They sent a couple of emails, sent it to the managers, and it's like, you know, all of a sudden the anxiety level raises up quite a bit quicker in the new business team. At that time, I sat right next to the new business team. I had the manager at my desk right away going, we can't find this document. It's not there. Somebody screwed up. It's not there. You know, we're going to have to call the advisor, going to have to call the client, get a new document. And every time you have to call a client and say, we screwed up, you always take a reputation hit. That's never a good thing to have to do that. And it's really difficult. It's a difficult phone call to make. It's difficult on the team. It's difficult on the client. It's just not fun anywhere. Stephanie came back from lunch, heard about the mild panic, said, okay, let me take a look. Let me go into the system. The text search was the biggest piece of that because she could search in by the client name and I can't remember, and the form that we were looking for. And within a few minutes, found the document had been saved in the wrong folder. And we could quickly get it back into the right folder and write it to the right client. And handled that very calmly and very, clearly with the team, and showed right there that that was something that we didn't have available to us before. We wouldn't have ever found that document because it was mislabeled and it wasn't, put in the right spot. And so for us, that was a huge victory, I should say, when in the process, because we now were able to take care of the document. Before Laserfiche, we would have wasted a lot of time trying to search around, calling the client, having that reputation hit. That's not good for any organization. I don't care who you are. If you have to call somebody up and go, oh, we screwed up. So with Laserfiche, we were able to avoid that issue, and that searching capability justified a lot of the things that we are doing and the reasons for why we do what we are doing. And with a little bit of time, it didn't take long. And so since that time, we've really appreciated and been able to appreciate the search capabilities and finding the documents that we're looking for that we didn't have a lot of success with in the past. The roadmap, where are we going now? We're not done. We're not anywhere near being done, I don't think. I don't know that we'll ever be done. With all the innovations, even just from the keynote this morning, I'm writing down a lot of ideas. There's a lot of things to do. And when you're working with an organization like Laserfiche and AIS, who are always looking to improve the process and improve the systems, I think it's really exciting to see those things. And I don't know that we'll ever be done. For us, some things that we know we need to get done is our retention policy. We now have a tool where we can build in our retention. We just saved everything in the past, and now we have an opportunity to take a look at that, and by company and by document and by strategy, what is it that we need to save, and what do we need to keep it, and how long do we need to keep it. We also are looking to continue to automate more processes. We are spending a lot of time right now working on a new account process. We are looking to add, we use social assurance for all of our social media documentation and social media tracking, and so we'll build in the same kind of a web link that we did with Northern Lights. We're going to do the same thing with social assurance. And then also streamlining the communications that we send out to our clients. We spend an awful lot of time, there's an awful lot of steps in that, and we've got that on our roadmap as well, as how do we streamline that communication, capturing that document, getting it to where it needs to be. As well as the new account process for our custodian. We haven't really changed or looked at this process in probably, I don't know, 7, 8 years, and it's really time. We now have tools in place that we can take advantage of that, and so that's another one that's on our roadmap. As a conclusion, I guess these are some of the things that I think you need to be able to embrace and take to heart when you're looking at what you're doing, and that is, know that you need to change. There's new technologies, there's new ways of doing things. Rules change, regulations change, and people change, and it's important for you to be able to take advantage of the systems and the processes that you have. Really pick the right partner. For us, we got lucky out of the box, and it's really important for you to do the same thing. Look at those partners, look at those people that you're working with, and make sure that they're helping you out and have your best interest at heart. Be prepared to improve your processes. Use the right tools. I can't stress that enough. It's important for us in our organization. I've had people regularly going, well, if we have Laserfiche, why do we need Salesforce? Or if we have Salesforce, why do we need Laserfiche? And they're two different tools. They do different things. They have different strengths. And for us, we want to take advantage of both of those and improve everything. Embrace that change. The other thing probably with that is also, get excited about the change. It's looking for that opportunity to constantly improve, I think is going to be an advantage to everyone. So some resources that are available, I guess they're recording this, so we'll have, I guess I'll be on YouTube. Whew. Okay. Laserfiche white papers and brochures, you're going to see a lot of those. And for us, it's really important that we continue to improve, as well as checking out laserfiche.com. It's an excellent tool, and I appreciate the time. Thank you. We've had a great year. It's been a lot of fun. It's been a lot of work. It's been a lot of stress. It's been a lot of fun, but at the same time, we think we've made some progress, and thank you for allowing me to talk about a little bit what we do. And if we have questions, go ahead, fire away, I guess.
Thank you so much, Jim. Yes.
So have you had to put this to the auditor's road test yet from the SEC or FINRA?
We haven't. We've actually started, we have on our roadmap to do a mock audit this year. I think it's coming up in a month, and we hope to see what the mock audit does, and I think we'll be pretty comfortable getting through that, but no, we haven't.
You mentioned you had a version of FileNet that limited your searchability. You needed specific metadata. So is that, does everybody have that type of file net, or?
I don't know. The version that we had, we didn't have other than a metadata search. That's all we had available to us. I don't know. I don't know FileNet. I'll be honest with you. Other
So,
than what we use.
were you guys thinking we need to find something else, or did a Laserfiche salesperson come to you and make
We
you
went
know
at it
that?
with, we need to find something else. We were
Okay.
looking at a number of different things. Like I said, there was a team that had done some groundwork before I came on board with the project. I was on a few phone calls. We were looking to try to figure out what it is that we needed as a tool. We, as an organization, we do a lot of cloud things. Salesforce, obviously, is an example of that. We do a ton of other hosted systems. We're not afraid of the cloud stuff, but when we started talking about these documents and why, these are some of our most sensitive documents. This is some of our most sensitive information. And we really wanted to make sure that what we were doing and what worked for us was a tool that kept it in-house, that we wanted
How
to do.
old was the file net? When was it purchased? And
Oh,
how recently was it upgraded?
It was originally purchased, I think 16 years ago, something like that. In fact, our CFO of NorthStar actually was a summer intern the year that FileNet was brought on board. And now he's, and he actually helped literally take paper documents and put them into FileNet. And that's what he did. So that was 16 years ago, was some of the things. But he's now our CFO, so he knows. I don't know. I think the version that we had, I didn't know if that was available. I just know that we were purchasing support, and then we couldn't purchase support anymore. And so that was where we were at. Thanks, Adam.
I'm just curious, how much do you, in terms of development, do you rely on your outside partner versus any internal?
Early on, it was a lot of it was all AIS. The conversion was all AIS. It was, they had the expertise. They'd done some FileNet conversions before, so we relied on them a lot. The web link was actually all of our own development. Once we realized we had all the tools in place, that was pretty simple for us to take advantage of. One of the things that we did, and we do with all of our statements of work with AIS, is actually we build in training hours that once they're done with that development, we want to be trained on what it was that you did, how can we take advantage of that. And I think that might be something for you to think about, is because we wanted that transfer of the knowledge. We didn't want to, sometimes it just gets to be too big of a project for us internally. CLS, I don't have direct developers of my own. I'm relying on Orion developers, so if I can get some of their hours, I'll take advantage of that. Each project has been sort of what's appropriate for that particular project. Okay.
Can you quantify either in staff hours or dollars and cents how you've benefited from this implementation? Is it too early to say, or do you have some idea how much you're going to save?
It's a little early. With the qualified plans folks, we know that we're saving probably 40% of their time, just because they were duplicating data into two that's our different guess. systems. So other than that, I think we're a little early. I think as much as anything, what's really hard for this is the reputation hit that we could have taken on a number of things when we weren't able to find a document or somebody wasn't able to find a document. We're able to do that now. We have a lot more confidence that we know that the document's there. It's just a matter of where did it get saved, how did it get put in there, what's wrong with that. And so I think that gives us a lot more confidence. We haven't put the investment, I know the investment question and what's the return, that's coming quickly, I'm pretty sure. But we haven't put a dollars and cents on that yet.
Any other questions for Jim? Yes.
Did you use any tools to move those documents from FileNet to Laserfiche?
You know what? Adnan, you might be able to respond to that a little better.
We did a direct from database. We basically mapped out the database and then did the conversion directly from there. There was we didn't have the API or SDK to work with. So we just basically scrapped from there. So made some lot of connections and basically did the conversion.
Hi, I'm interested in the integration with DocuSign you mentioned, how long it took to actually implement.
Laserfiche, there is a actual connector that we've purchased. So what happens is the document actually comes out of DocuSign, and in that final stage can be saved right into Laserfiche. And so the document doesn't even have to touch anyone's hands. Oftentimes we do go in and audit that document, but it comes right in and gets saved. So we don't have to worry about, did it get to the right spot? It goes to the right spot. We've got that mapped out. Okay. Yeah, when those documents come in, that's a good point. Thanks, Astra. When those documents come in, those agreements often have pages on there where it talks about where the client, how the client is going to pay for their services. It could be a bank account number, it could be a credit card number, those types of things. Not everyone in the organization is entitled to seeing that information. That's only for the accounting folks that they need to see that. And so when those documents come in, the workflow automatically redacts that page and saves it in a separate file and just only presents out to the bulk of the users the actual agreement without that redacted page. And that's been one of the things that's been nice. Oftentimes these documents were being saved by different people, so they were taking the document, converting the PDF and all that kind of stuff and doing lots of jump through hoop kinds of things, and we were able to streamline that whole process. Go ahead.
Just to clarify on what Jim said,
Okay.
is actually we're using a QuickFields agent to do that. So the document comes in,
yes.
it's recognized in a QuickFields session, and then the payment information is separated so that the legal team keeps the original signed document, and the accounting team gets the unredacted page with the payment information, and the client services team gets the rest of the document minus the payment information. So you have the original legal copy that's digitally signed, and then each team gets their individual parts that they need to complete their process. But we're using a QuickFields agent to do the separation and redaction, and then workflow to route and notify the teams of their new documents.
All right.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much again, Jim. If we could all give another round of applause.
Thank you.
If you have
Thank
any
you.
other questions, feel free to come up and talk to us.
Sure.
If you're in the
Sure.
financial
Yeah.
services industry, we have some lunch tables set aside today during lunch. Come join us and talk with us and your peers about how you're using Laserfiche. Thank you.